Let's take a walk through ancient Carsulae, a nice Umbrian town along the Via Flaminia. And we can start off outside the city with two monumental tombs. This one here, almost 10 meters in height, which we can see right here. We're gonna make our way past a much larger, looks like a tumulus tomb, attributed through an inscription to the Gaines Furia. And then we're gonna have an imperial dated arch today called the Arch of Cosimo Damiano for the church in the town, the medieval church in the abandoned town. But originally the interior of the arch was clad in marble distributed to Trajan. So here's that magnificent of gigantic scale. Right alongside on the slope here, the Via Flaminia, which we can see passes right through this very impressive once triple arch. We can walk around it to get a sense of it. And we can see right here, as we make our way up with our eyes, the telltale holes for the metal clamps or iron to hold in place the marble cladding since stripped out. You can see off to the side here the construction technique of the arch, and we can see the curb of the very well preserved section of the Via Flaminia. This is a great archaeological site, and it's a place that you can explore. It's a place where there are ongoing archaeological investigations. So there's a lot more information that's turning up for what the city was like. But we want to start with the history of the city. It's directly connected to the construction of the Via Flaminia. The Via Flaminia starts from Rome in about 220 BC. Carsulae is constructed along that new road at that time. And we know that when the Via Flaminia, coming from Rome, splits around the area of Aquiculum and Narni, and you have an eastern tract and a western tract. Carsulae is on the western tract. And we can see, as we look at the pavement here, that this is going to be repaired with later blocks of stone of other monuments over time, even some tombstones. But we can, at some places, see the ruts that belong to this very well preserved road. You can even see the curbs on either side. And we're literally at this point just down the street from the heart of the city. So the Via Flaminia, entering into the city, this road's going to take you right into the heart of town. It's not a city constructed with walls. That's not the reality of Italy at this time and what the Romans were all about. What they wanted to create with the Via Flaminia was an important, rather direct north-south road, cutting straight up to bring you essentially to the terminal point in Rimini on the Adriatic. That's going to take you through most of Umbria. And it's a chance then to explore, get to know the entire Via Flaminia by exploring the site of Carsulae. And at this point, we're entering into a large clearing. These are the excavated remains of Carsulae. And what we have here is the Roman Forum to our right. The Roman Forum of this town. And you have two entry points, really monumental, to go into the Forum Piazza, the elevated piazza. 3 quadriform arches, and here's one of them. And the excavations are taking place under the Chesi family in the 16th century, followed by a number of papal excavations, and finally the modern excavations under Ciotti in the 1950s. Now the excavations are continuing in the 2000s. And in this particular hall, this is where you had the remains of a number of Julio-Claudian family members, including a colossal head of Claudius recarved from a head of Caligula. So this has been, up until recently, defined as the Augustaeum, place to worship, venerate the imperial family, but in more recent times has been reevaluated as possibly the open hall for the Curia, for the local senate. So we have a number of shops here, office spaces, and then you have the new excavations. And the excavations are quite interesting, with a number of shops that are going to be modified over time and contracted. You can see finally here we have quite a bit of brickwork on this particular wall. So you're going to have those imperial aged restorations of earlier buildings, probably going back to the late Republican times. And this is the subject of the most recent excavations, a similar hall to the so-called Curia space that we saw, but this one has rows of column bases. So this was something a little bit different. This might have been instead the Augustaeum, since it's too crowded with the columns for the local senate to meet. It's a very interesting construction with the raised platform over here being added. And we have the remains of these beautiful carved bases. And then we can see the stucco work with some of the incised fluting over the brick columns that once would have stood here. So very interesting structure, and then it's going to be modified. You can see here this particular column base and beginning of the column shaft is incorporated into that later structure. We also have a lot of investigations of the water system, drainage system here that we can see still covered and running along here, and then coming into the piazza area. And the actual excavations are ongoing right now. We have a chance to take a look at that. On one side we have a so-called Capitolium structure, though we're not 100% sure to whom this temple was dedicated. It's been recently identified a contiguous secondary twin temple right here in this plot of grass, and even a third smaller temple, which we can see the remains of just right here. And from this vantage point, we can see the rest of the forum area, which is going to include in the corner here, bringing us back toward the Via Flaminia. It's going to be twin temples that are raised up on a series of concrete vaults that will provide shop space. And right here, subject of the most recent investigations, is a so-called, for now, domus publica right here, which is quite massive and sprawling and extensive, going from late Republican times into the imperial period. Continuing here, we're at the domus publica, so this was a large structure, huge sprawling complex on one side of the forum piazza. So you have twin temples. Down below you're going to have the 11th century Cosmo Damiano church. On this side you're going to have a farmhouse, which was on top of a cistern. But what's going on with this domus publica concept possibly is that's also for accommodating the emperor when his retinue is coming, traveling down the Via Flaminia. That's the idea, and that's the ongoing investigation. And the new discovery over here off the side of the forum platform area was an unexpected discovery. It is the remains of an impressive Nymphaeum, which then seems to be part of that domus publica, adding to the overall monumentality of the sprawl of the complex. and we can take a look at the ongoing excavations that are taking place right now this fall 2024. What we do see here, just in passing, the newly uncovered remains of a series of bases, and those bases are for a portico. Some views of them, as we also get a view of this previously undocumented Nymphaeum. So in recent years, we're getting a lot more understanding of just how important this town was and what the key features of the town was. There's so much more that they're learning about the forum space, including this large Nymphaeum with staircase preserved here and much of the drainage system. And then I think this season right now is this whole row of bases for portico that would have been in front of the Nymphaeum, adding to the magnificence of this space. So really this is a gorgeous, gorgeous site to visit. You're in the middle of pristine countryside, and you've got that large tract of the Via Flaminia, and you've got the monumentality. But you also have remains of shops, some of the domestic spaces just off the forum area, and the poorly preserved remains of the basilica of the courthouse opposite the forum area on the other side of the Via Flaminia. So it's a great site to explore with these components that are familiar to us from other Roman cities, but every city is unique. Carsulae definitely has its history tied to the construction of the Via Flaminia. The Via Flaminia is an extraordinary road, a lot of other incredible features and towns along the way, and there's going to be a lot more to explore. But one of those great sites along that Via Flaminia is Carsulae. Hey, this is Darius Digs. Thanks for subscribing and liking my channel. I'm out and about in archaeological sites, digging, filming, teaching. You have an opportunity to travel with me a couple times a year. You can go to my YouTube channel, of course, free lectures at Ancient Rome Live, and reach out to me. I'm always interested in more professional collaborations.